In today's episode of SailGP Today, we sat down with not one, but three guests. First up, Leo Takahashi, flight controller of the Black Foils. Then we had Los Gallos wing trimmer, Florian Trittel, and we chatted to director of SailGP Technologies, Joel Martinson.
Yeah, we've got the inside scoop from Los Gallos. Will the Black Foils be back on the race course in Auckland? It's a good one. Give it a listen. From where I was sat, it was pretty scary. From where you were sat, I mean, what did it look like? Could you see anything yourself, or where were you on the boat at the time?
Yeah, it was definitely a shock. I personally didn't see it until, watching it afterwards when we got back on shore. I definitely heard that there was something happening in terms of the fact that we had to rush into a jibe. And first kind of impact was the first time it was a bit of a shock. Couldn't really believe it, to be honest. First race and first downwind of the event.
I guess, it was pretty gnarly conditions in that, like when everybody condenses at gate number 2, it's always pretty crazy. But what was the sound like on board?
It was as gnarly as what you guys heard on the broadcast. There's a big crunch, and I heard that people on the grandstand heard it as well, which kind of shows how loud it was on board. But yeah, it's just not nice. That sound of carbon kind of crunching is never a nice sound. And immediately I was kind of hoping that Pete was all right. But yeah, the fact that he spoke up straight away is a good sign. And yeah, glad that everyone else is all right. It's never a nice feeling.
Now, I got to hand it to all of you. The comms on board afterwards were incredibly calm, given that you just lost the back of the boat. As you say, it must have been really scary for Pete. And Lisa did a brilliant job of just avoiding asking the question a minute ago. But you guys obviously ended up getting the penalty. I think it was definitely a case of agree to disagree between Pete and Craig on the situation. I suppose I'm going to put you in the seat and you're going to say, I agree with Pete, but I'm going to say, how do you feel about it? And then I suppose it just, whether have there been any chats around it? How as a team do you sort of learn from it, even if you disagree, and move on, I guess, is my question.
I just fly the boat, mate.
I knew it.
Yeah. You've had a chance to look it back. What do you think? Could you have done more?
I don't know. Maybe I could have flown the boat higher and we would have been in a different place. I'm not sure. It's a tough one. You never really want to see the boats come together, and it's always, some team comes out worse out of it. So, we as a team definitely think that, there could have been something done to avoid a crash, and, the umpires think they were definitely in the wrong. And it's like you said, agree, disagree in that situation. And yeah, it's tough, but we all just got to move on and try claw back those season points and try climb up the leaderboard to the end goal.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And you say about flying higher. I'm not want to suggest that all these crashes are on you in any means, Leo, but you were actually there on the last gnarliest one I can remember, which is when Ainsley you almost didn't fly the boat low enough on that last one for when Ben came in. Was it similar to that, or was one of those scarier than the other?
Yeah, we were definitely sitting ducks in that one.
Yeah, no, you were. Yeah.
It was definitely another one where they just kind of came out of nowhere, and we were just about to take off actually, so I was kind of counting down to lift the boat out of the water, and yeah, there was a big Union Jack right next to my face about to land on us. So that was a big shock. And yeah, I know it's just one of those little safety bits where you just have a blind spot onto leeward, and Ben and the team just couldn't see us. So we just came out of nowhere in that situation, and it was a tough one. It was actually my third big crash. Previously, the one with the Japanese and the US as well, same season.
Oh, but, yeah, of course. Yeah, wow.
That was a bad one. That was definitely our fault, but we won't go into that one.
Yeah. You win some, you lose some. But what we all want to know is what is the state of the repairs? Like how close are we to getting on the start line in Auckland for the Black Foils?
Yeah, real confident. The boat arrived this morning, and it's gone straight onto a truck to SeaTech, and they've given us some space and some boat builders, and yeah, the SailGP team are fully into it now. And yeah, the boat's there, and they're going to splice the back of the new boat, new stern that they've built up in Southampton, and yeah, we'll be good to go for that first training day in Auckland.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
epic. The things that they do at SailGP Technologies is pretty incredible. So really, that's really awesome to hear.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
sick. And I was just thinking, Lisa, it was a year ago was the first event on the T-foils. That was in Auckland. Um, I mean, it'd be lying if I didn't say I was perhaps piling a bit of pressure on you, Leo, and you'd stepped in on Andy Maloney, and you had kind of a bit of a job on through the season. You clearly, I guess, grew into the role. How much pressure did you feel coming into that role? And then you've got. It's weird to say it because they were the nippers when I was sailing, but they're kind of the legends now, Pete and Blair. How is it having them behind you, and how do they help, and how does that all work?
Yeah, it's been great. The whole team's made me really feel at home, and kind of taken the pressure off it. No doubt, there's definitely a bit of pressure from the very get go, just with how big the shoes are to fill. But I feel like they've done a really good job to make me feel comfortable, and have not put too much pressure to kind of make it a hard time, but just enough so that I'm kind of always under a bit of pressure and challenge. So it's been a really fun season last year, and I was really excited to get going again. But I guess this is just that little bit of pressure and a little adversity to start off a season, and it kind of makes it a little bit more exciting, doesn't it?
Well, it
Yeah, and
certainly
I
is
guess
exciting.
oh, it's very exciting. I think we were all a bit nervous. We don't want to see crashes that close to people, that's for sure. And I guess just touching on Pete, obviously, I mean, he's such a legend in our sport, as is Blair. But like as Stevie said, they made you feel comfortable. What have you learned from sailing with a legend like Pete?
He's a pretty chill guy. It's hard to get a lot out of him, but no, it's incredible how analytical he is, and he doesn't skip through any little detail or doesn't leave any stone unturned. So you definitely pick a lot of that out of him. And then Blair, who I work very closely with, being the wing trimmer and me being the flight controller, we work a lot. We meet mostly every second of the day. So it's been good to actually just be around those two and pick up little nuances or just little things on the boat. And it just makes you even more curious and want to just kind of learn new things from them. And it's been really, really, really fun. And every day I come back and my brain's a bit fried, but it just means it's a good learning day. So just try do that early on in the week and in between the events, maybe not during the weekend.
Yeah, Leo, I saw on Instagram yesterday you and Blair discussing the best date venues in Auckland. So I'm intrigued to know how that kind of rolls out over the next bit of time. I don't know how much agreement you both came to on that, but that's pretty good. But February, Auckland, it was awesome last year. What can we expect?
Yeah, it's going to be epic. Been driving past the grandstand most days now, and it's ready to go. It looks pretty mighty. And hopefully we get some really good breeze. We've had a bit of a on and off summer here. We've had some really strong westerlies, which would be good for the course, and some good easterlies, which we had last year. So it could line up, but a couple good, really nice nor'easters with the sun out would be really nice for the spectators and fans as well. But really looking forward to it. The city is starting to get a bit of momentum and starting to come alive. So it's going to be a really good weekend.
Yeah, it was just epic last year, having just the whole community get around you guys. Obviously, missed out on the final there last year, and then the grand final this time, not coming away with the win. I guess I know what you're going to say, but what's the goal for this season? How are you guys going to climb back up and get all those season points on the board?
Yeah, well, definitely got a bit of work to do now. But Auckland was tough for us. We kind of we just had a good training block, and then just didn't hit that weekend running very strong on that last day. Kind of got stuck out with the tide, and we were just kind of struggling in that big breeze. So definitely a bit of redemption, and then we rolled on to Abu Dhabi, which was a light wind event, and kind of winning that grand final, and to have it all snatched away at the end was really tough to swallow. And you saw the photo of my head in my arms on that after that race, and that was definitely a tough one. And all of us felt hurt after that. But it's a new season, and definitely not hit it in the right foot. But it's just kind of we're all kind of excited by the challenge now. It's going to be a long season. There's so many events to claw back the points, and like the racing is so close. So like anyone could win an event, and it's going to be close throughout the whole season. So we definitely can't make any more mistakes. But yeah, it just makes it even more fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it certainly makes it fun. I bet on you guys. I'd put myself on the line, and you were gone after the first race in Perth. So I don't know whether I back you again in Auckland or whether I'm just a bit of a bad lucky omen. I'm not sure. But Leo, it sounds like you've got a lot of processing from another long day chatting with Blair, no doubt, to do. So thanks ever so much for joining us, mate. It's really good to catch up. Great to hear the boat's back, and you're probably going to get my vote for Auckland. It'd be great if you can get back, and if you're not first, you're last. So let's turn it all around.
Thanks, Stevie. Thanks, Lisa. Good to hear from you guys. See you soon.
Oh, well, typical Kiwi, didn't give much away, that's for sure.
I was confident he wasn't going to be able to see a lot from his box there, and I'm definitely not sure that flying the boat higher would have been the option on that one that Leo's given us for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool insight, wasn't it? And I thought as much as anything, just how he's grown through the year, because I really, I couldn't actually bring myself to say, how well he was doing at the end of the year, because that felt a bit cringe when we're sat there and haven't been quite hard on him early season. But he did, didn't he? I mean, through the season, the Kiwis had got fast. They were right in it, and they were just a couple of legs away from winning the grand final. So they're going to be there come the end of the season, despite what's happened here, that's for sure. But yeah, really, really crazy and scary crash. I think the other team, caught up in some carnage. I mean, that was Los Gallos. Maybe a bit more hard luck, though. I don't really feel they did anything hugely wrong. But we'll go back, we'll get on board and take a look at that moment now.
We're done. 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn it. Fuera. Vale, paramos. Hold everything. Algo ha petado. We broke the board case. Are you all good?
I mean, it was pretty crazy to see. I think seeing that, it was like, have they hit something? Did somebody do something wrong? And it kind of ended up that it was just, in that moment, the case just swiveled at the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it back several times, and it's weird because I'm kind of going to bed as the boats are coming in off the water, so you sort of miss out on what's going on, and there was all sorts of rumors that they'd hit something, or just I don't know, something had happened. Not that it had just had that sort of not self-destruct, but the loading on it had meant that it had twisted open a little bit. So yeah, scary that happened to them, but more sad and more disappointing, really, because I imagine it was a fraction of a degree, a fraction of a knot out of place that meant it all kind of went to lead to a pretty bad weekend for the Spanish.
Yeah, it was super disappointing for them to sit on the sidelines, but it's sounding pretty positive that they're going to be hitting the start line in Auckland. But to give us the full inside scoop, we're joined by their wing trimmer, Florian Trittel. Hey, Flo, how are you going?
Very good, very good. Good to be here. How's everything?
Very good. Thank you for joining us. We just saw you fly through the air in Perth when you guys stopped suddenly. Just talk us through what happened in that incident.
I remember really well the moment, because what broke in that poor daggerboard case, I was looking at it, because I'm in charge of raising that board, and sort of my eyes go towards that point, and we were pulling off a pretty good jibe, I would say. And then all of a sudden something was not working right, no? And I was realizing, okay, something is wrong. And then all of a sudden I saw the foil lose its position. And then after that, we obviously had that nosedive that led me to flying sort of towards the front and face planting the net, similar to what Chris Draper had done the previous day. And in that moment, my first thing was like trying to ask Nick whether I had cut my mouth as well, because obviously it's scary, no, for us wing trimmers to fly into the net. And luckily I didn't get any injury like Chris did. But yeah, in that moment, I think what went through all of our minds was that it was probably going to be over.
Yeah, is that right? So because I suppose, like I say, I watched back the jibe and I'm like, oh, what have they done? It looks like you say, it looked like a really nice jibe, nice heel, nice turn, and everything looked all good. But when it's something that's maybe not as understandable, does that make you more nervous that there's a big problem, or you could just see that something had really blown up?
Yeah, I mean, we know that if something breaks in the daggerboard case, it's normally something big, and that's gonna take the team a long time to make the boat ready to race again. And yeah, in that moment we thought it's probably going to be over. We don't know until when, but we had heard as well that the time between Perth and Auckland was going to be very reduced, and in case of breakages and major damage, it's probably never going to be fixed in time. But yeah, luckily we have big support from the tech team and from SailGP, and yeah, they're doing everything in their hands to get us back on the start line in Auckland.
Yeah, how is it looking? Have you got any information about how likely it is you'll be getting a training day in, or will you be doing a timed run to the start?
I think it is confirmed that we can say that we will be on the start line, which is great news. And what we are now figuring out is whether we commission the boat on the Thursday or on the Friday to make sure everything is in place. And yeah, so like that we could then race on the weekend at least.
Isn't it? I find that amazing that the Kiwis lose like the back of the boat. And we've seen pictures on Instagram this morning, or Russell's Facebook, I don't know where, some form of social media platform. I saw pictures of the Blackfoils boat looking, and your thing, which just seems like it's hidden away from our eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's like hidden away from our eyes. And you're literally saying you might only get in the boat the day before racing.
Yeah, that's actually the conversation, and yeah. I mean, our tech team or our show team, our show crew is happy to help out. But right now, we are told to step away from it, and tech team is taking care. So, yeah, we also don't have the insight.
It was interesting. Obviously, we got to spend Saturday together during racing, and I think we had a chat before we went out, and I said, "Oh, hopefully nobody else crashes, so we have best chance for you." And then it was like, "Oh, hell broke loose," and we were like, "No." So I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah. Then the Kiwis came, and they have the home event.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, the worst case scenario for us. but yeah, luckily there's enough resources, and everything looks like it's gonna work out.
Yeah. Before I get on to the talking about redress points and things that you probably don't necessarily directly want to talk about too much, I'm intrigued. If we go back to you being, Olympic gold medalist, congratulations on that, by the way, especially in the 49er. I mean, that is a hard class to do well in. But will the late sailing change your plans in terms of trying to be clear-headed? When do you fly from Europe to an event like that in Auckland? How do you work about that, thinking of yourself as the athlete rather than the team manager or whatever other roles you have?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an important priority for us, and I think there's a couple of members in the team that deal or cope with the jet lag a bit better than others, and the ones of us who might want to be fully in shape, which we travel a couple of days earlier before starting. And for example, myself, I will land in Auckland on Tuesday, only sailing on Friday probably. So I have a couple of days. I take my road bike with me, and get into the routine of the new time zone, and doing a little bit of sports and prep.
Okay, pretty nice. Take a road bike with you. That is a thing. If I took a pair of trainers, that would have been impressive for me. But yeah. Anyway, okay, that's quite cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's just so professional, isn't it, Lisa? Really, and I think that's one thing we don't get to talk about enough is how for people like Flo, and then when the events are back in Europe for Slingsby and the Australians, it's got to be hard, all that travel.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a whirlwind, and Flo can probably talk to this a little bit more, but fly in, practice racing straight into the event, and it just is over so quickly for such a small amount of time racing. But you've only got an hour and a half per day to be at your peak, so you've got to do everything you can in the lead up to make sure you're ready for those moments.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah, perfectly said. Right, Flo, I'm going to bring it back down. Now, the good news is we don't have to go too gnarly into all this because it sounds like you're going to be racing. So that's awesome. But yeah, what I suppose many of the fans might find odd, I'm sure you find frustrating or annoying, and maybe we spoke to Leo Takahashi a minute ago, and we were discussing how Pete and Craig have perhaps agreed to disagree on how they saw their incident. But for you, the rules for redress, and it's kind of written in stone, isn't it, how that process works?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the one, I think we obviously understand the rules with redresses in SailGP, and the one thing that doesn't really feel right to us is that if you look at it from in hindsight, you compare our situation with the Kiwi situation, And by saying that, I mean that obviously I'm not saying that the Kiwis were in the right or in the wrong, but they were judged to be in the wrong. So a boat that is judged to be in the wrong, provoking a big incident, is with the same points as we are right now, who haven't even sailed, and it was not our fault to not be able to race. So that's a little bit the feeling we have, no, looking at the situation in global, that maybe there's something we can work on and we can adjust on the rule side of things. Obviously, there has been this new amendment now, or this change to the penalty, the season penalty points. Now you have to be involved in 2 incidents, which if you have one massive one and you're out, you're never going to be involved in 2. So yeah, that's maybe something we still would propose to explore and probably modify.
Yeah, super tough. I mean, that was a very good political answer, Flo.
Yeah, that's how we feel about it.
I guess looking ahead, which I guess that's what you do it as an athlete. You think of the next thing. Obviously, your team missed out on the grand final. It's a tough start to the season. I guess, how do you focus on the next event, getting prepared and getting back in that top 3 by the time we go to Abu Dhabi again?
Yeah, I mean, seeing the dynamics of how everything is going now, how we're preparing, the team is in a very good shape. Other than not having raced in Perth, we are really, everybody's owning their job, and we're connecting a lot, and we're trying to also analyze what went right in Perth for us, even though we couldn't race, because the previous days of training we were feeling quite strong, and yeah, we want to identify what was it exactly that was making us feel that strong, no, on the technical side and on the side of connecting between each other, and then replicate that for Auckland, and yeah, build on that for the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm confident. We're looking at the forecast. It looks like it's not going to be banging on. Like, it could be light as well. So we'll see what we find ourselves with, and yeah, we will be, or try to be ready with any condition.
What I
Yeah,
loved about your team. Oh, sorry. I was
No,
saying
don't
what I
worry.
loved what about your team is that nobody flew out. Everybody was in different parts of the race course, in the coach's booth, on the water, trying to learn as much from the racing. So whilst you weren't able to actually go out there and race, you were trying to learn from the other teams and still take from the experience.
Yeah, and it was also great for us as sailors who have never been in the coach booth to step into the coach booth and just observe the other perspective of how coaches see the racing, and yeah, I think that added some value to our campaign.
That's pretty cool. So one last question, Flo, before we move on. Obviously, 2024, what a year that was for you, and then I actually thought your 2025 season was really good, because you kind of proved that you deserved what you had the year before, and I'm sure you were disappointed not to make the final, but and I'm going to put words into your mouth here, because my job is to have an opinion that is very fleeting, but it seemed last year, like, as soon as there was a slightly bigger course and you could perhaps use your boat speed and the smooth tactical sailing, you were really, if not the best team, right in that mix. But then on these tighter courses like Auckland, do you think that suits you, or is that something you're having to adapt your sort of way you approach things to?
I think by now it's something that can suit us, and it's taken us maybe a bit more time, but yeah, we are feeling confident, and we have been looking into the courses. Depending on what wind direction we get, it could be very short.
Okay.
If it's across the harbor with 13 boats, if we have 13 boats, which we haven't had yet.
Yes.
so yeah, I think it's going to be one of the arts, no, this season, to be able to pull off good races in very tight race courses, because obviously some race courses stay the same size, but we have one more boat, and that will make it feel smaller. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we're visualizing that a lot.
I guess it wasn't a totally stupid question. I
mean, you did make the top 3 in Auckland last year, so you were in the final in Auckland last season.
They were, yeah. They made the dive inside Slingsby. They nearly got the dive inside Slingsby. It was a good move, but not close enough. Flo, Flo, thank you so much. We've potentially ruined your jet lag cycle, making you get up at this time as you prepare for Auckland. But really, such good news to hear you're going to be back on the race course. And Alcaraz got it done in Melbourne last weekend, so I guess straight over to you guys.
Yeah, let's go for it. Vamos.
Oh, Lisa, what a cool chat that was with Flo. I mean, I just think, speaking to both Leo and Flo, really, I mean, it's so interesting to hear how much is going on between the events, you know, be it on a bike or running a marathon or having to sit at coffee and get talked to by Blair Tuke. I don't know what it is. All of those things sound pretty full on to me. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible the work that's going on behind, and the Spanish obviously are a little bit upset about the point situation.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, the incident happened before racing even started the day before. So the fact that that was a complete write-off for them without their fault, that's a pretty hard thing to swallow. But I think what the Spanish team do so well is they don't dwell on it. They're making lemonade out of lemons, as they say, and trying to make the most of it. So, you know, they've had an incredible past 2 seasons. Obviously, missing out on the grand final hurts, but I think, you know, they're definitely a contender, and I think maybe a little bit of lighter breeze that we might get in Auckland could see the Spanish magic come back.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to pigeonhole. I already pigeonholed them on course size, but I didn't want to sort of get into them on wind strength. But I do think that medium breeze, they're really right up there. They're so sharp with their technique and accurate how they sail the boat. So yeah, I definitely think they got potential. And I suppose we should perhaps mention the rules on the redress are, yes, that if it happens at that event, you don't get points. Had there been a problem rolling into Auckland, that's when the discussion for redress would have come around. And last year we saw France, for example. And I think the black foils maybe early, or maybe that's 2024 season, but you know, they took like mid-fleet finish points. So that's how they've often kind of worked it out, which, yeah, as you say, that would be better than nothing. But fortunately, I guess, you know, purse behind us and we're looking ahead, and that's largely thanks to all the work that goes on at SailGP Technologies, isn't it, really? So you know, they've been working hard, and we're going to get a bit of a chance to chat in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are incredible, guys and girls that work on the ground at the events, but also so back in Southampton. And I mean, we've spoken to both teams. We've heard it from them. They're expecting to be on the start line, but we are going to talk to one of the geniuses behind SailGP Technologies. Director Joel Marginson is going to join us now. Well, Joel, I mean, just what a incredible season opener it was, but I guess you were probably watching from afar, already trying to work out how you're going to fix everything for Auckland. What's the state of the nation? What's life been like at Southampton the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I struggle to watch the racing nowadays, to be honest. But look, I think the team almost thrive off the stuff and the extra challenge, and you kind of see this new lease of life when we're up against it and up against the challenge, and we know why we're here, and at the end of the day, it's our job to maintain these boats, build new F50s, and try keep the 13 teams on the water. So certainly jumped into action straight away, and there was no short of individuals putting their hand up to work weekends and late nights. I think we did a really good job. Quite happy with where we got to before the part needed to depart and air freight down to New Zealand. And I've just had a recent update this morning and yesterday with the team on the ground in New Zealand. So we're currently on schedule. It is tight, but all going well to date.
And Joel, I think the one thing that perhaps blew my mind from talking with Flo a minute ago was that actually this foil box and the mechanism inside there, that's a way harder repair than putting the whole back end of a boat on, or is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's one of the most complex parts of the F50. So it's roughly 4,800 man hours. So you the better part of three to 4 months to build that individual component. So, and you just can't put the men at it because it's such a small, complex part. So normally it's 1 or 2 individuals that build this part for 3 to 4 months. And what happened is it got a torsional effect. So the torsion came through, and if you imagine having a Coke can in your hand and articulating it, it basically crumbled down low. So yeah, it's not good, and essentially we need a fuse there though. So you can't structurally make all that area too strong, because then you just end up breaking something else. Or we call it the wet box. So the wet box structure, you end up doing a lot of structural damage to that. So what we're doing to come up with contingency plans there is our spares program. So we had a spare center case, but unfortunately for Spain, there was actually structural damage around the cockpit opening as well. So where there's the deck and the individuals sit in the hull or stand in the hull, there's 86 layers of unidirectional going around the opening, and that's to hold the structure. So when the F50 wants to rack and it's got its riding moment or it's loaded up, you imagine there's this big hole in the middle of the deck where the individuals are sitting. Those unis going around and around and around are holding that structure. That actually popped, and 86 layers snapped through there. And that's all done out of pre-preg and process cooked. So that's not one, you don't go in there with wet laminate and put some carbon on that. That's days and days of work and process cooks. Like, so we had to get the engineers involved. Like, whether we had every single spare part in the world, that boat unfortunately had structural damage, and similar to the New Zealand black foils. So that's when we get the engineers involved, and we've built our design and engineering department, so we have that in-house now. So that's happening straight away, and they're looking at the construction drawings and they're looking at repair plans, and that's happening as we go straight into logistics. So almost every time the phone rings or I find out and I'm aware of the damage, we go design, structural engineers, start working on repair plans, and then we go to the logistics department and we start working at where we're going to move parts around the world and what we're going to do. And as that all starts, you can start to formulate a plan here at SailGP Technologies and get the team together.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, when we get go, sorry, Lisa, you go.
No, you go. You're enthralling. Keep going, Joel.
When we get, I think the biggest thing here is it comes down to time constraints. When we talk about processes and cooks and cycles and things like that, you can't cut corners. You know, the boat has to go back to its structural integrity. It has to be as good as new. So we can't cut corners and we can't save time in many areas. We just have to be really strategic. So that's when you get into working in different locations, having individuals doing different parts around the world, and doing 24-hour shifts, you know, and that's where we are with the New Zealand and the Spanish repairs. Even Brazil was a bigger scale in terms of we put a new forward beam and pod, but we had longer time. Where here, if we take out the logistics, we only ended up with roughly 5 days in SailGP Technologies and 5 days in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's all happening pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that's the thing, is you kind of don't know what's going to come next until you get the phone call from on the ground. And I think, you know, you kind of touched on Brazil. You've done some incredible repairs under a huge amount of time constraints. Where does, I guess, you know, these couple sit in what you've achieved as a team over the years?
I think it's on par. I think definitely when you add in the time constraints, it has a hell of a lot of complexity. So if you look at both areas of the boat individually, that is when the one design and the complexity comes around the configuration of an F50. So for instance, you've got Spain, and we talk about the foil, the center case. That's driving, you know, your riding moment, your pitch, your rake, your max beam, everything. And then likewise with New Zealand, at the back of the bus there, you've got your electronics, your hydraulics, your rudder, your steering system. They're both very complex areas of the boat. So it's one thing putting it back, the structural integrity and rebuilding that area, but it's the finesse and it's the geometry that will make or break you. Like, we could do a fantastic job putting that boat together, but if we don't get the rudder in the right spot, all the hard work's undone.
Yeah, and that detail's coming in now. I reckon you're going to answer this question by saying, well, when the sailors stop crashing, I'll get onto it. But, you know, there's obviously a lot of chat about maybe having another F50 that can travel with the fleet, and so that we can perhaps shortcut some of this. Is that like a short-term near plan, or is that something that's realistically next season?
I would say that's in the near future. I think we're in the best place we have ever been, even with all this damage. So right now on tour, we have a full wing that's fully set up with electronics, hydraulics, Clyside ready for branding, to go in any boat. We have spare center case foils that we talked about that take 4 months to build. Even with the breakage now of Spain, we've already got another case flowing down to Auckland. So when we talk about a whole boat, that's more of a strategic play to meet the demands of the growth of the league, right? We've got teams that want to buy in, and we need to balance that with having a spare boat on tour. We're setting up a training camp in Pensacola. So that's an F50. That's an F50 in Pensacola for the next 5 years. We've got the demands of new teams wanting to buy. Plus, we talk about a spare boat. You're into building 4 F50s in a year, and with our current staffing plan, we can't. But what we can do is we can start knowing that that's where we need to get to. So instead of building 2 boats a year, we'll build 2.7 boats a year, and then in 1.5 seasons, we should be in a place where we've got a spare boat.
Well, we better let you go keep building it.
That's all right. He said he'd be back in on Sunday. No problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Joel. What you do for the league, and it's just incredible what you and your team pull off.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I think, look, I can orchestrate a lot, but it comes down to the individuals in the team. And when we talk about SailGP Technologies, I think it was one thing putting infrastructure and getting operational and the challenge there, but the real testament is building the team. And the team that we're building is only going to get stronger and stronger, because there's some individuals that are quite new, and they're learning the trade and the skill and the craft. There's other individuals that have been doing it for 25 years and they've done multiple cup cycles, Volvos and SailGP. So we have a nice balance. We've got an apprenticeship scheme and internships. So we're up to 120 staff now, both going to the events and building the boats. So the strength will come, and we've incorporated electronics, hydraulics, metallic sensors with the CNC. So not only are we doing those aspects of repairing the boats and building new boats, but we're doing more of it. So less outsourcing and more in-house.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Joel, for chatting and for giving us all that insight, and good luck for the final push.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Oh, it's always so good, isn't it, when we get up into SailGP Technologies and Joel and the team. It's a crazy place. I've been lucky enough to go up there a couple of times, and it's massive. But what they actually managed to churn out is it's mind-blowing, really, how busy they are and the stuff they're getting done. But sounded like, generally speaking, pretty much all good news.
Yeah, and I think, what they are able to do is incredible. And don't want to have to work 24-hour shifts all the time. But just, I guess, we see these boats flying fast through the air, and just when you hear the level of detail that each tiny component has, it's pretty incredible. So, yeah, as you said, to get that sort of insight level of detail about what goes on behind the scenes and what it actually takes to get the F50s on the water is pretty incredible. But it sounds pretty good for 13 boats on the start line. And so before we wrap up, I thought that we could do some predictions. So, Stevie, it's the hardest job of all because it's on record and you can compare what you get at the end of the weekend. But give us your first, second, third for Auckland. And who do you think is going to have a full shocker?
Oh, I think a full shocker is maybe we could go with Craig Mitchell having a full shocker, because I think that it's going to be a pretty hard event to umpire if it's that short a course. There's going to be a lot happening. If I'm going to go shocker, that's a horrible question.
It's a harsh
Lisa.
question.
It's a horrible question, isn't it? Because, I don't think that's... do you know what? I tell you who I think's got the biggest challenge this weekend, and I think that's going to be the Swiss. Now, I know they got back racing on the Sunday, but you mentioned how Pete was shaken up. Seb was really, really shaken up as well. And I think tight race course, it's going to be hard for them to push as hard as you need to push, I'd say. So I sincerely hope they don't have a shocker. and I hope they're in that and performing at their normal level. But I think for the Swiss to kind of, don't know if you've watched Top Gun very much, but Maverick re-engaging in the fight is kind of what springs to mind. It's been a big scare, big moment. Can they get themselves back in it? And yeah, I'm going to go for, on a more positive note now, the top three after your very horrible question, Lisa Darmanin, is I'm going to go with. I mean, before Perth, I thought the black foils could get it done. I'm going to go black foils. I'm going to go Emirates GBR, and I'm going to go France.
Interesting. Do you have an order, or are you just hoping to just call the top three?
I would. I mean, ultimately, you can put the order however you want. One little race on that course, I don't think we can predict. I think over 6 races to get to the final, then maybe that, And again, I mean, I've left out the Bonds Flying Rouge. I mean, it's madness, isn't it? But you've got to make a call, and that's where I'm going.
Okay, fair enough.
What about you? Come on, you don't get to just ask the questions. First of all, with who's going to have a shocker, Lisa?
Well, I'm gonna go with your answer, which is I don't like the word shocker because we don't want anyone to be out of it. So in terms of biggest challenge, I mean, I agree with you. I think the Swiss have to get over that mental hurdle. But one other thing, I think the team that may struggle a little bit is Mubala Brazil. I mean, they've had some 2 big crew changes in their wing trimmer and flight controller, losing them to other teams. And whilst Perth was a really difficult course because it was windy and choppy, I think if we get those conditions that we saw last season and you're on a really condensed race course, that's really hard for a new team to be able to just talk so fast, and every 50 meters you're going to be doing a maneuver. And on the flip side, if we get lighter breeze, it's such a tight race course that there's going to be disturbed air everywhere. You got to get the most out of the F50. So I want them to do well, but I feel like that it could be a challenging race course for them.
Okay, well done. Now top 3, come on.
Top
I already know
3.
you're going to have the Australians in there, so
well,
that's
you
done.
didn't.
So
So
who's your other
put them in
two?
the top 3.
Who's your other 2?
I might go with the Spanish. I think that they are very good at bouncing back, and I think it'll be really nice to see them obviously back in it. I think that they don't get phased so much by things that go wrong. They're pretty easy to just move on to the next thing. And I think, their result there last year showed that they enjoy those conditions. And then I think as well, Pete is going to have something to prove, and the black foils will show up. And so it's gonna be a repeat of the grand final a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't think you're far off there, to be honest. I mean, what I would say is, having watched that event in Perth, USA did well. Canada were winning races. Denmark won in Abu Dhabi. Phil Robertson was fun. I mean, I do actually think that this is starting to almost become a little futile as a thing, because the standard of the lead as it goes up, there's such fine margins. But yeah, I think over the weekend, those teams that have got a bit to prove are going to be right in it. And I know you'll shoot me for saying it because I'm British, but they're on a heck of a roll, aren't they? That's 3 events in a row and 3 finals in a row that Emirates GBR have actually managed to get done, So all these teams are going to take a bit of beating. But yeah, there you go, Lisa. We'll find out who's right. Sounds like the most key moment is whether the Aussies or the Brits make the final. That sounds like the defining one between you and I, which is perhaps stereotypical. But anyway, it was good to chat with everyone. I'm going to shut you down on that one, Lisa, I'm afraid. Yeah, it was good to chat with everyone there. Hopefully we've all got a little bit more insight ahead of Auckland.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We will catch you all in Auckland. If you are around, there are still tickets available, and we'll put the link in the description so you can grab yours. See you next time.